Hello everybody and welcome back to Flock Talk. Today we're going to be doing a really quick training tutorial on how to teach your bird to go in to their carriers. This tutorial is a very quick one. It only took Mia about 10 minutes to understand what I wanted from her, and I find that this behavior is an extremely helpful one to reduce stress in unseemly situations. When you have an emergency or you need to quickly get your bird into a travel cage, or just to reduce daily stress when it comes to transporting them for vet visits and things like that, teaching them to go into their carrier willingly instead of having to chase them around or quickly throw them in and shut the door, it helps reduce a lot of stress when you're able just to cue them and have them willingly cooperate with the behavior instead. So step one here, we're just going to make sure that Mia is comfortable with the carrier by just giving her treats for sitting around it. Mia has been in this carrier before, so it didn't take her too long to be totally comfortable with it. You may need to leave it in the room for a little bit longer than I did. But we're just going to sit here and target train Mia all around the carrier. We're not having her go in it right off the hop. We don't want to do anything too scary and intimidating. We're just going to sit here and have her target to the roof, onto the door, and have her kind of wander around. This is a very important step because you want to make sure that your bird is fully comfortable with everything that's going on here. If you start with them going straight inside and they're already scared of the carrier itself, it's going to be very difficult for you to make any progress. By taking those couple extra moments to target train or give them some treats for sitting around the cage and sitting on top of the cage and exploring their environment on their own terms, you're going to find that your bird's a lot more comfortable with the entire process than if you just try and jump the gun and go straight into training them to jump right on inside of it. So Mia's pretty comfortable here. You can see that her language is pretty relaxed. She's eagerly kind of going for the target stick, and we're starting to have her go down the door. The reason why I'm doing this part in particular is because Mia does have sideways feet, so sometimes climbing on these surfaces can be a little bit more difficult for her. And if she's going to be in this carrier, I want to make sure that she's comfortable moving around on those slipperier bars. If she struggles with that or just isn't comfortable with it, then I'll just find her a new carrier, because we don't want her being uncomfortable and scared when she's in a carrier that's already going to be going to a stressful, scary place. But Mia takes to that pretty well, climbs down it no problem, so we're going to move on to step 2, which is teaching her to go inside of it. So again, we're just going to put the target stick in front of her and have her just hop onto the edge to start. Because this cage is raised off the floor a little bit, and she's a very tiny bird, that can be a pretty big step. If she struggles with that more, I might have put a book down or something that formed a ramp so she didn't have to jump so intensely. But she wasn't scared of anything, she was rocking it, so we didn't really need to do that extra little step in the middle. And we're just going to gradually have her move further and further into the cage here. So the next step of this process is going to be moving her up the wall to aim towards that perch in the back. So I'm just putting the target stick through the wall, just so that way my hand isn't in there and so my hand doesn't accidentally hit the bars or do anything that could be scary. Because this cage is metal, it can make a lot of loud, scary noises if I were to stick my hand inside the cage, and then it just makes the space a lot more crowded. So I'm just sticking the target stick on the outside and giving Mia, every time she goes into the cage and touches the stick, just giving her a short little treat for heading towards the right area. And we're moving on to step number 4, which is going to be getting her to fly straight onto the perch. She did this by accident when I was still trying to go for her getting up the wall, but I'm positioning the target stick behind the perch now, because now that she's comfortable going in here, she's realizing that going up onto the perch is a little bit easier than trying to climb all the way up the wall. So she's been reliably hopping onto that perch. So I'm just going to take my target stick and I'm actually going to slide it down a little bit and try and hide it. And I'm just going to kind of hide it behind my finger, so it's more of a gesture of me pointing, and we're not relying on her touching the stick to perform the behavior anymore. So we're going to be pointing towards the perch that's in there, and just give her a couple seconds to hop up, and we want to click and reward as soon as she jumps up on the perch, not when she touches the stick anymore. Because we're trying to slowly phase out our target stick, so she's not relying on it to understand where she's supposed to be. By slowly phasing this out, we can end up just pointing her finger at the perch, saying our cue, and have her go where we need her to be. You can see that I've shifted my hand to being inside the cage now, and this is because when I'm guiding her in, my hand is going to be pointing at the cage, it's not going to be outside of it anymore. So we want to make sure that the gesture I'm using, that I want to be the cue for the behavior, is slowly being introduced throughout this process. And my gesture is just going to be pointing into the cage. I don't want to have to be tapping the perch or excessively holding my hand there. So we're just going to slowly phase my hand out a little bit more. Keep my hand pointing a little bit further away. Maybe move my hand a little bit faster. So that way the cue becomes a little bit more of a quick hand gesture than me sitting there tapping on a perch for her to know where she needs to go. And this is just going to make it a little bit easier for her to have one quick precise hand movement that tells her what to do. I'm not having to rely on having a target stick or having other things around me to be able to get her to do this behavior. So as you can see, we've gotten to a pretty good point here where I'm able to point my hand from a pretty good distance away from the perch, and she's having no problem knowing to hop right on in. Mia does take a couple seconds to think about jumping up there before going at it, and that's fine. She doesn't need to sprint into her cage. She just needs to know to hop in there when I ask her to, so I don't mind her taking that second to think about her jump before she does it. So that's going to do it for today's training tutorial. As I said, it only took me about 10 minutes to learn it, but if your bird is a little bit more scared or hesitant of their carrier, or the carrier is just a little bit more intimidating, it may take a little bit more time. Don't rush them, give them their space, let them figure out what they want to do and move at their own comfort levels. That's going to do it for today and today's training tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye! Hello everybody and welcome back to Flock Talk. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on cheating. Hello everybody and welcome back to Flock Talk. Today we're going to stop cheating. Hello everybody and welcome back to Mia.